I stood alone in the dim church, staring at the polished oak casket, the air heavy with the scent of lily and the faint creak of empty pews. No family, no friends, just me, carrying the weight of 1,000 unspoken words as I faced my wife's funeral 6 months ago. Her laugh, that soft, teasing sound she'd let slip when we danced in our kitchen, echoed in my mind. But it couldn't drown out the question clawing at me. How did we end up here? I always thought love would surround us in moments like this, but I was a solitary shadow in a place meant for solace, holding a truth I wasn't ready to face. That morning last winter, when I found her still in our bed, the house felt wrong too. Silent, too cold. Tucked in her nightstand was a letter, its edges worn, that shattered everything I thought I knew about us. It's the reason I stood alone that day, the reason I'm still unraveling a secret so shocking it's carved into my soul. Was it her choice? My failure? Or a betrayal neither of us saw coming? Every memory burns, but I can't stop digging for answers. This story is raw, a jagged mix of grief and the faint hope that there's meaning in the wreckage. I'm not here to pretend I've got it figured out. This is about the messy truth of loss, the kind that makes you question who you are. There's more to this, a twist that broke me, and I'm not sure I'm ready to share it, but I have to. If you've ever felt alone in a moment that should have been shared, if you've carried a pain you can't explain, stay with me. Share your story below, and let's uncover the truth together. Will you help me make sense of this? I stood alone in that dim church, the polished oak casket glinting like a cruel wink under the weak, flickering light. The air was heavy, thick with the cloying scent of lily and the faint creak of empty pews, each groan a reminder of the solitude choking me. 6 months ago, I buried Sarah, my wife, with no one beside me, no family, no friends, just 1,000 unspoken words clawing at my throat. Her laugh, that soft, teasing hum from our midnight kitchen dances, looped in my head, a ghost that couldn't hush the question tearing me apart. How did I lose her like this? I'd always pictured us surrounded by love in moments like this, but there I was, a broken man in a hollow place, drowning in silence. I gripped the funeral program, its edges crumpling in my sweaty palms, Sarah's name in bold letters searing. My eyes like a brand. It felt like an accusation, her name staring back, asking why I let it come to this. The pastor's voice droned on, a flat hum I barely registered, because all I could see was her face that last morning pale as frost, still in our bed, gone before I could whisper goodbye. I'd stood over her frozen, waiting for her chest to rise, but it never did. The memory burned, a wound that wouldn't close, and I hated myself for not seeing the signs sooner. I scanned the empty pews, my eyes darting, desperate for a familiar face, our daughter, Ellie, or even a distant cousin, but the silence mocked me, laughing at my loneliness. Where was everyone? Where was Ellie, with her sharp tongue and sharper eyes, the girl who used to cling to us both? The absence felt like a second death, a betrayal I couldn't name. In my coat pocket, a folded letter from Sarah's nightstand pressed against my ribs, its worn edges sharp, a secret I was too shattered to read. I'd found it that morning, tucked beside her favorite scarf, but I couldn't bring myself to unfold it, not yet. What truth was I so afraid of? Driving home, the world blurred through my windshield, and then her favorite song, Yesterday, by the Beatles crackled through the radio. The lyrics hit like a fist, and I pulled over, tears stinging as I gripped the wheel. All my troubles seemed so far away, but they weren't. They were right here, in the ache of her absence, in the question of whether I'd failed her, or if she'd walked away from me first. I'd loved her, hadn't I? But love doesn't leave you standing alone in a church, does it? The weight of that day clung to me, a bruise that pulsed with every heartbeat, A sign I'd missed something vital long before she slipped away. I'm not sure when it started, the unraveling of us. Maybe it was the late nights I spent working, or the fights we stopped fighting, letting silence fester instead. But something was wrong, something I didn't see, and now it's too late to ask her. That letter in my pocket, it's a ticking bomb, a truth I'm not ready for, but I know I can't ignore it forever. I'm standing on the edge of something dark, and I don't know if I'm brave enough to jump. Back home, I sat at our scarred kitchen table, the letter trembling in my hands like a live wire. Sarah's looping handwriting stared up at me, but the words felt alien, like they belonged to someone I'd never met. I can't keep pretending, it began, and my heart plummeted into a cold, dark pit, a place where dread lived and breathed. What couldn't she pretend anymore? What had I missed in the woman I'd sworn to know? The kitchen clock ticked too loud, each second a jab at my failure to see her unraveling. I flashed back to our last fight, her eyes sharp as knives, spitting. "You're not even here anymore." I'd laughed it off, tossing back some half-assed excuse about work, but now her words sliced through me, raw and bleeding. Had I been blind, or had she been hiding? The letter hinted at someone else, vague mentions of meetings and someone who understands, and I pictured her with another man, her smile brighter for him than it ever was for me. The thought burned, a betrayal I couldn't shake, and I hated her for it, hated myself more for letting her drift. I poured a whiskey, the amber liquid stinging my throat, matching the fire in my chest as I reread her words, hunting for a name, a clue, anything to make sense of this. "He listens when I talk," she wrote, and I wanted to scream. When had I stopped listening? When had we become strangers sharing a bed? The letter was a map to a life I didn't know, and each line twisted the knife deeper, making me question. Every moment we'd had. A creak upstairs snapped me out of it, soft, deliberate, like footsteps on the old hardwood. My breath caught, and for a heartbeat, I swore Sarah was still here, pacing the floor above, watching me fumble through her secrets. I froze, glass in hand, listening, but the house stayed silent, mocking me again. Was it her ghost, or just my guilt playing tricks? I couldn't tell anymore, but the sound rooted me to the chair, my heart pounding like I'd run a mile. I shoved the letter back in the drawer, its edges catching on the wood, my hands unsteady as if they knew the truth. Would break me. I wasn't ready to face it, not yet, but the weight of her words clung to me like damp clothes. I'd loved her, hadn't I? But love doesn't write letters like that, does it? Love system. It hides secret lives behind locked doors. I'm chasing her truth, and it's tearing me apart. Was it my fault we ended up here? Or did she choose to leave me behind? Every word in that letter stings, and I'm not sure I can handle what's coming. But I can't stop now. Her secrets are unraveling me, and I need to know why. I couldn't stop digging into the wreckage of our life, replaying every moment I thought was ours, but maybe never was. Sarah and I were messy, flawed, human two people who swore they'd love each other through anything. Or so I thought. Now, sitting in our living room, the silence screamed louder than ever, and I wondered when it all went wrong. The question gnawed at me like a dog with a bone. Had I lost her long before she died? I was chasing ghosts, and they were winning. I found a photo tucked in a book from that summer fair. Sarah's smile wide and unguarded, my arms slung around her like I'd never let go. Her hair caught the sunlight, and I could still feel the warmth of her against me. When did that light fade? I traced her face with my thumb, the ache in my chest swelling until it hurt to breathe. The photo felt like a lie now, a snapshot of a life that didn't exist anymore, and I hated how much I still wanted it back. Ellie, our 19-year-old daughter, hadn't spoken to me since the funeral. Her absence was a second death, a blade twisting deeper than Sarah's. I'd tried to be a good father, but Ellie's silence said I'd failed there too. I dialed her old number, my hands shaking, and her voicemail answered. "Hey, it's Ellie. Leave a message." Her voice so bright, it gutted me. I hung up, unable to speak, the sound of her happiness a reminder of how far we'd fallen. Where was she now? Why wouldn't she come home? Mrs. Carter, the nosy neighbor, stopped by with a casserole and a story. She'd seen Sarah at a cafe months before she died, sitting with a man, their heads bent close, her laugh sharp and unfamiliar. The words landed like a punch, and I saw it, Sarah, alive, laughing with someone who wasn't me. Betrayal took root, a weed choking out the love I thought we had. Who was he, and why did she turn to him? What did he have that I didn't? At midnight, I pulled the letter from the drawer again, its weight heavier than ever. One line stopped. Me cold. He sees the real me, not the mask. The words burned, a knife twisting in my gut. Who was this man she trusted with her truth? I'd spent years thinking I knew her, but now I saw masks hers, mine, ours. Had she been pretending all along, or had I been too blind to see her slipping away? Have you ever lost someone and realized they were a stranger all along? Share your story below. I'm begging to know I'm not alone in this. I'm standing in the ruins of my life, holding a letter that's tearing me apart, and I don't know if I'm chasing Sarah's truth or running from my own. Every memory feels like a lie now, and I'm not sure I can face what's next. But I have to keep going, don't I? Mrs. Carter's words clawed at me, a hook I couldn't shake, so I drove to Sarah's favorite cafe, a cozy hole in the wall with chipped mugs and too sweet coffee. The bell above the door jangled, and I felt like an intruder in her world, chasing a ghost who'd outrun me. The barista, a kid with tired eyes, remembered Sarah too well, and her words hit like shrapnel. Sarah had been here, months before she died, with a tall man, a scar slicing his cheek. They'd sat close, whispering like lovers or conspirators, and Sarah's laugh was bright, not the strained one I knew. I stood frozen, picturing her alive, her eyes on someone else, and my chest caved in. I drove aimlessly after, the image of Sarah with him looping in my head, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. Who was he, and what did he mean to her? The betrayal felt like acid, burning away the life I thought we had. I'd loved her, but had she loved me? Or had I been a placeholder, a man she settled for until someone better came along? The questions spun, each one sharper than the last, and I didn't have answers, just a sinking feeling I'd been blind out at home. I tore through her study, desperate for something to explain her away. Under a loose floorboard, I found a journal, its pages filled with Sarah's coded scrawl words, like freedom and new start, that didn't sound like the woman I married. One entry stopped me. A cabin in the woods, a place we'd never gone together. My stomach twisted, a knot of dread tightening. What was she doing there? Was it with him? The journal felt like a stranger's, not hers, and I hated how it made me question every moment we'd shared. I called Ellie again, my voice cracking as I left a voicemail, begging her to tell me what she knew about her mother's secrets. Ellie was my last tether to Sarah, but her silence was a wall I couldn't climb. I sat there, staring at the phone, willing it to ring, but it stayed quiet, just like the house. The emptiness was suffocating, a mirror of the church pews, and I wondered if I'd lost them both long before Sarah died. The cafe, the journal, the man with the scar, they were pieces of a puzzle I didn't want to solve, but I couldn't. Stop. Sarah had a life I didn't know, a life that left me standing alone at her funeral. Was she running from me, or toward something else? The thought of her with him, laughing, free, made my blood boil, but the real pain was deeper. I'd failed to see her, and now she was gone. I'm chasing a truth that's slipping through my fingers, and every step hurts more than the last. The cabin crouched in the pines, a sagging shack with windows like unblinking eyes, staring me down as I approached. This was Sarah's secret place, a world she'd kept from me, and I hated it before I even crossed the threshold. The door creaked open, revealing her trace as a scarf draped over a chair, its soft blue fabric catching the dim light. A half-burned candle, its wax pooled like tears, and a photo tucked on a shelf of Sarah with the scarred man, her smile brighter than I'd seen in years. My heart thudded, a mix of rage and grief, as I realized she'd been happier here without me. My phone buzzed, Ellie's text slicing through the silence. "Dad, stop. You'll regret this." Her words sent a chill down my spine, but I couldn't turn back, not now, not when I was so close to her truth. What did Ellie know? Why was she so scared? I tore through the cabin, my hands shaking, and found a locked box under the bed, its weight heavy with secrets I wasn't sure I could bear. The metal was cold, unyielding, like the wall Sarah had built between us, and I carried it back to my car, my pulse racing. Got it home. I pried the box open, the lock snapping with a crack that echoed in the quiet. Inside were letters, not from Sarah, but to her, signed Daniel in sharp, slanted script. Each one was more desperate than the last, pleading with her to meet, to act. The final letter read, "One last meeting. We end this together." My breath caught. What had she walked into? Was this man her lover, her savior, or something darker? The words blurred as my eyes burned, the betrayal cutting deeper than I thought possible. I saw her in my mind, standing in this cabin, planning a life without me, and the image broke something inside. Had she stopped loving me, or had I stopped seeing her? The photo of her with him, that smile had haunted me, proof of a Sarah I didn't know. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but she was gone, and all I had were these scraps of her secret life. Ellie's warning echoed. What would I regret finding? Was it him, or something bigger? When have you uncovered a truth that shattered your world? Tell me below. I'm drowning in this, and I need your voice. I'm standing in the ruins of my marriage, holding letters that prove Sarah was someone else, someone I failed to know. The cabin, the photo, the words, they're a map to a place I don't want to go, but I can't stop now. Her secrets are pulling me under, and I'm not sure I'll come up for air. Daniel, the name seared into me, a blade I couldn't pull out. It was the key to a door I didn't want to open, but I sat at my laptop, scouring the internet for a face to match the scar from the cafe photo. My hands shook, the whiskey in, my glass sloshing as I typed his name. Each clicked a step closer to a truth I wasn't ready for. A news article popped up. Daniel Hayes, private investigator, missing for months. His face stared back, the scar jagged across his cheek, and my stomach lurched. It was him, the man Sarah had turned to. I drove to his office, a grimy hole in a strip wall, the air thick with dust and abandonment. Papers littered the floor, and I found one with Sarah's name circled in red, like a warning. My heart pounded. What had she been doing with him? I rifled through the mess, finding nothing but receipts and dead ends, until Ellie's call broke the silence. Her voice trembled through the phone. "Dad, you're stirring up trouble you can't handle." Her words were a slap when I pressed her, my voice raw, demanding answers. She broke, admitting Sarah had hired Daniel to investigate me. Sarah thought I was hiding something dark, something unforgivable, and the revelation hit like a sledgehammer. My wife didn't trust me, saw a monster where I stood, and I had no idea why. I sank into the car outside Daniel's office, the world blurring as I replayed our last years. Had I been distant? Sure, but a criminal? A liar? The accusations in her letter, her voice, Her fear, they painted a man I didn't recognize. I saw flashes of Sarah's face, her eyes searching mine during late-night fights, asking questions I didn't hear. Had I missed her cries for help, or had she built a lie to justify leaving? Daniel's disappearance gnawed at me. Was he dead because of what they'd uncovered? I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white, trying to piece together a marriage that felt like a house of cards. Sarah had been unraveling me, just as I was unraveling her, and the symmetry was cruel. Ellie's warning echoed, "You can't handle this," but I was too deep to stop. Daniel's name, Sarah's secrets, they were pulling me into a darkness I didn't know I could survive. I'm chasing a truth that might destroy me, and I don't know if I'm hunting for her or for myself. The man I was, the man she thought. I was there colliding, and I'm not sure which one will survive. Ellie sat across from me in the diner, her eyes guarded, like she was bracing for a blow. The fluorescent lights buzzed, casting shadows on her face, and I saw Sarah in her same. Sharp jaw, same wary stare. She knew more than she'd let on, and I was done waiting. "Tell me what you know," I said, my voice low, raw with the weight of Sarah's secrets. Ellie's fingers twisted around her coffee mug, and I could feel her pulling away, just like her mother had. The diner smelled of grease and regret, and I was drowning in both. She said Sarah was terrified, paranoid, convinced I was cheating, or worse claims that made my blood run cold. I remembered late nights at work, my distracted answers, but it was stress, not betrayal. Or was it? Ellie's eyes held accusations, and I wondered what Sarah had told her. She slid a USB drive across the table, her voice barely a whisper. "Mom left this for you. I found it after she died." My heart thudded as I took it, the plastic cold, a piece of Sarah she'd meant for me to find out at home. I played the audio. Files, Sarah's voice slicing through the dark, sharp, urgent, talking to Daniel about proof and getting free. She described a man I didn't know, someone tangled in lies, someone dangerous. My hands shook, the whiskey bottle forgotten on the counter. "He's not who he seems," she said, her words laced with fear, and I felt the ground crack beneath. Me? Was she talking about me? How could she think I'd hurt her? I replayed the fights we'd had, her silences growing heavier each month. I'd chalked it up to stress, to life, but now I saw her eyes, searching, afraid. Had I missed her unraveling, or had she built a lie to escape me? The USB drive sat like a bomb on my desk, Sarah's voice looping in my head, accusing a man. I swore I wasn't. Ellie knew about this. Why hadn't she told me sooner? Was she protecting her mother or me? The diner, the USB, Sarah's voice, they were tearing me apart, piece by piece. I'm not sure who I am anymore, or who Sarah thought I was. Her words are a mirror, showing me a stranger, and I'm terrified. To look too long. I need to know why she doubted me, why she ran to Daniel. I'm chasing her truth, but it's breaking me, and I don't know if I'll come out whole. Sarah's voice on those audio files painted me as a threat, tangled in something illegal, something deadly. I wasn't that man, but why did she believe it? I tracked down Vince, Daniel's last contact, in a dive bar that reeked of stale beer and bad choices. He was wiry, with cold eyes that sized me up like prey. "Daniel's dead," he said, smirking. "Handled for knowing too much." My blood froze. Sarah's death wasn't an overdose, was it? Vince's words hung in the air, a warning I couldn't ignore. I tore through Sarah's closet, my hands shaking, and found a burner phone hidden in a shoebox. Its screen lit up with texts to Daniel. "He's watching me. Stay safe." My heart stopped. Who was he? Me? Someone else? The phone felt like a grenade, its secrets ready to blow my life apart. I saw Sarah in my mind, typing those words, her hands trembling, afraid of a shadow she thought was mine. How had I missed her? Fear? Or had she built it out of nothing? I confronted Ellie, her face pale as she admitted Sarah planned to leave me, to protect them both from whatever she thought I was. She was scared, Dad, Ellie said, her voice breaking, and I felt like I'd been punched. Sarah thought I was a monster, and Ellie half believed it. I wanted to scream that it wasn't true, but doubt crept in. Had I been blind to my own life? The burner phone, Vince's smirk, they were pieces of a puzzle, pointing to something bigger. That night, a knock rattled my door, then silence. A note slid underneath. Stop, or you're done. My pulse raced, the paper trembling in my hands. Someone was watching, someone who knew I was digging. The house felt too small, the walls closing in, and I clutched the burner phone like a lifeline. Sarah's fear was real, but was it me she feared, or someone else? I'm running out of places to hide from her truth. The bar, the phone, the note, they're closing in, and I'm not sure I can outrun them. Sarah's secrets are a noose, tightening with every step I take. I'm chasing answers, but each one cuts deeper, and I'm starting to think the truth will destroy me before I find it. I returned to the cabin, my heart hammering like a trapped animal, the pines whispering threats as I approached. The answers were here, hiding in this rotting shack, and I wouldn't leave without them. The door groaned open, and Sarah's presence hit me, her scarf, her candle, her photo with that scarred man, all mocking me with a life I didn't know. I tore up a loose floorboard, my hands raw, and found a hidden compartment stuffed with documents, bank records, fake IDs, my name tied to a company I'd never heard of. My breath caught. This wasn't my life. The papers screamed money laundering, a web of lies with my name scrawled across it, but I swore it wasn't me. Someone had stolen my identity, my marriage, my everything. I saw Sarah's face, her eyes, wide with fear, believing I was the criminal. Had she died for this? My phone rang Ellie, frantic, saying her apartment was trashed, someone hunting for what Mom left. My blood ran cold. Sarah's death wasn't an accident. She'd been silenced, and now they were coming for me. I clutched the documents, my hands shaking, picturing Sarah in this cabin, piecing together a lie that killed her. The photo of her with Daniel burned in my mind, her smile, so alive, so unlike the woman I'd lost. Was she in love with him, or just desperate for truth? The documents were a map to a betrayal I couldn't comprehend, and I wondered if I'd ever known her at all. Footsteps crunched outside, and I froze, my breath shallow, the darkness pressing in. Someone was watching, waiting. Ellie's call. The papers, the footsteps, they were a noose tightening around me. Sarah had uncovered something deadly, and it cost her everything. I'm standing on the edge of her truth, and it's going to pull me under. I don't know if I'm fighting for her or for myself anymore, but I can't stop now. I sat in the dark, the documents spread out like a confession, my life crumbling into ash. Sarah thought I was a monster, but the real monster was out there, and I'd face it for her. I cornered Vince in that dive bar again, his cold eyes flickering as I pressed him. Sarah found a syndicate, he spat, using your name as a front. My heart stopped. Her death was a hit, a warning to silence. Her, and I was next. I saw her face, her fear, her courage, and it broke me all over again. I gave Ellie the evidence, my voice cracking as I told her to hide, to stay safe while I ended this. She hugged me, tears in her eyes, and I felt Sarah's ghost between us, urging me on. In a grimy warehouse, I faced the man behind it, Mark, a former colleague, his smile slick with lies. He'd woven my name into his crimes, used my life as a shield, and Sarah paid the price. Stay quiet, he said, or lose everything. I saw her scarf, her candle, her smile, and chose to fight. I turned Sarah's evidence over to the police, exposing Mark's syndicate, watching his empire crumble. Her courage saved me, saved Ellie, and I carry that now, a light in the wreckage. I lost my wife, my daughter, my life to a lie, but I found my way back through Sarah's truth. She wasn't perfect, neither was I, but she fought for what was right, and I'll never let that go. I'm standing in the ashes, rebuilt by her strength, but the scars will always sting Dot if this story broke your heart, if you've ever fought. To reclaim your truth, hit that like button, share your story below, and subscribe. We're in this together. Will you stay with me for what's next? I need you here, because Sarah's gone, but her fight lives on in me.